Hello and welcome to the Wi-Fi webinar. I am Jatin Parekh and I am responsible for the product management of the Arista's Wi-Fi portfolio. On the agenda today, we have the Unified Cognitive Edge, where we will see how we are bringing Arista's campus switching and Wi-Fi portfolios together. COVID-19 has thrown a lot of challenges and requirements from a network perspective, and we will see what solutions Arista is bringing to the market to address the COVID-19 challenges. We also have a set of new access points that we have delivered. We will talk about those, and we will talk about where Wi-Fi is headed to going forward. Let's first talk about the Unified Cognitive Edge. As you're already aware, Arista has the world's best campus switching solution. It has its own roadmap and vision. Arista also has the world's best Wi-Fi solution with its own roadmap and vision. We would want both of these solutions to continue on their own path because that ensures that Arista customers can benefit from the best of breed solution from both the campus switching solution and the Wi-Fi solution. However, customers that deploy both switching and Wi-Fi from Arista will see a host of benefits from the synergy of these two solutions. In phase one, we already delivered a common appliance, which meant that customers deploying both Arista Wi-Fi and Arista campus switching can manage either of these solutions, both of these solutions from the same appliance, either physical or virtual. CloudVision also delivered common topology views and inventory views that went across both switching and the Wi-Fi portfolio. In phase two, which we are delivering now, we are also adding CloudVision as a service that will allow the campus switching portfolio to be managed alongside the Wi-Fi portfolio from the cloud. The Wi-Fi portfolio will also stream its telemetry into the NetDB architecture that was already proven for the switching side. And we are delivering two new common dashboards, the IoT Vision and the Compliance Dashboard, that we will see in a minute. Going forward, we will deliver common workflows across wired and wireless, where you will be able to see the client experience irrespective of how the client decides to connect to the network, either on wireless or on the wire. We will provide troubleshooting tools that go across both wired and wireless, and we will secure the IoT at the edge. Let's talk about the cognitive NetDB architecture. NetDB is a network-wide database that collects this information from a wide variety of sources, which includes the wired solution from Arista, the wireless solution from Arista, third-party network devices, third-party partners that we have. And while all of this data is segregated by the different customers it comes from, it also provides an anonymized data set across all of these customers for machine learning. Now, while this data comes from a wide variety of sources, which means it is very diverse, and it is anonymized to make sure that we protect the privacy of the customers, it gives us a very strong base for machine learning. It gives us a broader global data set for creating the machine learning models, which in turn ensures we get more insightful recommendations, continuous network assurance, richer compliance, etc. I'd like to briefly introduce why Arista's machine learning and AI is superior than others you see in the market. Machine learning is all about creating a model, which when you give it input will give you the desired results. Now to create this model, we need to have a set of data which is diverse, which is reliable, which is good. And we pass it through either assisted or unassisted training to create the model. We could also use a set of data to also validate that our model is good or not. Now, this obviously means that if you have good data, you will get a good, robust model. which will give you good results. And if you don't have good data, then your model is not that good or reliable, and which means you don't get great results. As far as Arista is concerned, Arista gets its data through live streaming telemetry. It captures 100% of the state changes that happen, and the data comes directly from the devices. While others use polling and sampling methods using some legacy protocols like SNMP and syslog, and they end up doing estimation and extrapolation on this data. As you see in this example here, Arista will capture all the interface up and interface down events and packet drop events. While if you're doing sampling through SNMP or syslog or other means, you would end up, like in this example that you see, interface being up all the time, and you would think that the throughput is also fairly average because the average throughput is good, but you will miss out the spike that happened in the data throughput, which resulted in a packet drop. Here are the two new common dashboards that we are delivering. The first one is IoT Vision. What we've done with IoT Vision is to bring together the best elements of both the wired and wireless side dashboards that we have. So the client journey dashboard, the endpoint classification that we have on Cloud Vision, the traffic analysis, and the workspaces view is all brought together on a single dashboard. And we also have a common compliance dashboard, which will give you the ability to manage risk and assess risk across the wired and wireless network. And you could filter this list or report either by wired or wireless. So we have integrated all of the Wi-Fi devices into the compliance dashboard that Cloud Vision already had. Moving on, as we were saying earlier, COVID-19 has been putting forth a lot of challenges and requirements. So for example, people are now working from home, working from remote workspaces, small offices, and that's how this is likely to continue for some time to come. And there are requirements like contact tracing where enterprises need to know who was in the building, who were the other people in the building at the same time, were there any hotspots that were creating by too many people being at a particular place at any given time, etc. Arista is offering these solutions for these challenges. The first one is remote workspaces, where we will see how administrators can extend corporate Wi-Fi to the remote workspaces. We'll also talk about secure access and how to ensure that Wi-Fi users can log into the corporate network securely from these remote workspaces. And then my colleague Nadeem Akhtar will talk about ptracer, a tool that assists contact tracing in the enterprise. Remote workspaces provides the ability to an administrator to extend the corporate SSID to a remote workspace. It could either be a telecommuter or a branch office, and all the features available on the corporate deployment of Wi-Fi would be available at these remote workspaces. This includes things like client journey, application quality of experience, wireless, IPS, and others. One of the key drivers of this solution was that we wanted to ensure that Arista customers do not need any additional investment at the corporate data center. And hence, we decided to use the industry standard IPsec VPN tunnels between the AP and the data center. Now, traffic from all of these APs would be tunneled to the corporate data center. And in addition, we have the ability to define split tunnels on these access points, which means that data destined for the corporate network would flow through the tunnel, while the internet-bound traffic can be split right from the AP over to the internet. This preserves the precious VPN throughput available at the head end, and it also provides a way for telecommuters, etc., to create guest Wi-Fi, which is cut through directly over to the internet. And because we are working with industry standard firewalls, the corporate can use any of the existing firewalls that it has in place to terminate these tunnels. And we have tested this out with industry standard or industry leading firewalls from Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinet, and others. And to top it all, this is like a true plug and play solution where once the configuration is defined on the Arista cloud, administrators can simply ship the access points to telecommuters or branch offices. And as soon as the AP is plugged into an internet accessible port, the APs draw down their configuration from the cloud and start their operations with the desired configuration, which means that people at the remote workspaces do not need to do any configuration on these access points before they deploy them. To ensure that the client connections are secure, we are providing integration with Okta. Aruba ClearPass integration has also been improved, and one of the improvements is that Aruba now detects Arista as a vendor in the ClearPass system, which means that you do not need to do any special configuration for Arista on the ClearPass side. Just a click and all the configuration required by ClearPass is already set up. We also provide integration with Forescout that provides posture assessment and classification of devices with its compliance and remediations. Let's look at a little bit closer on the Okta integration that we provide. Traditionally, Wi-Fi has always used 802.1x radius authentication to authenticate Wi-Fi clients. You could use either username or certificate-based authentication, and it could integrate with an identity provider to make sure that the right identities are accessing the network. One of the key things about this solution is that it requires a separate network authentication, and once you're authenticated to the network, you need to do application authorizations or application logins separately. With what we have done today and the Okta support that is available today from Arista, you need to deploy an Okta Radius agent on premise. And once you do that, the Okta Radius agent acts as the Radius server for the Arista Wi-Fi solution. And it talks natively to the Okta Identity Cloud to make sure that the access by the Wi-Fi users is secure. Today we support PAP and eTTLS authentication modes. We also support token-based two-factor authentication with this deployment. Logs for logins, session ends, updates are available from Okta Identity Cloud. While there are some limitations on the radius, like roles and radius accounting is not supported. However, we are building the next version of Okta integration where we will use CloudVision Wi-Fi to integrate with the Okta Identity Manager directly using SAML. And once this is done, the biggest benefit that the end users face is that they do not need to log in separately on the Wi-Fi infrastructure and then into the applications. Once you log into the Wi-Fi, you are also logged in automatically onto all the applications that you need to use. Okta can integrate at their backend with multiple identity services, but the experience to the Wi-Fi users is going to be seamless. And Okta also provides a rich set of two-factor authentications. So in addition to the token-based two-factor authentication that we already support with today's Okta integration, we will also be able to support things like email, SMS, and voice call second-factor authentications. With this, I would like to hand over to Nadeem Akhtar, who will take you through the rest of the presentation. Thank you. Over to you, Nadeem.
As workplaces reopen for business, safety of employees and visitors is extremely important. eTracer helps in identifying hot zones or areas where user density is above the safety threshold. It also generates an association timeline for every user who connected to the Wi-Fi network, including details of locations visited and the time spent at each location. For a given person of interest, eTracer lists all other users in its proximity at different points of time during the association journey. ptracer generates a set of 3 reports for a period of 1 to 30 days. The association journey provides a list of APs and locations in chronological order with which the persons of interest connected during a given time period. The proximal contacts list identifies the time intervals when a POI was in the proximity of one or more other users and includes the relevant details of these users. The hot zones list highlights for each AP when the number of connected users exceeds a predefined threshold. In summary, the ptracer application helps enterprises create a safe work environment in the post-COVID era. ptracer is an on-prem application. It uses the REST APIs to fetch association data from CloudVision Wi-Fi and generates analytics data locally, thus ensuring that the information stays within the customer network. Moving on to hardware, Arista's Wi-Fi 6 product portfolio now includes a set of 4x4 APs, each equipped with dedicated multifunction radio. These APs work at full capability with 802.3 AT power. The C230 is an indoor AP with internal omnidirectional antennas, while the C230E comes with external antenna connectors. The O235 is an IP67 compliant industrial grade AP with internal antennas, and the O235E is its external antenna variant. All these APs are equipped with 2 Ethernet interfaces capable of supporting up to 5 Gbps and 1 Gbps rates, respectively. With the addition of these 4x4 Wi-Fi 6 APs, Arista offers a wide range of hardware choices, catering to all the important deployment scenarios. The C260, with a total of 12 streams across the 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz bands, is ideal for high-density use cases. The C230 and its Wi-Fi 5 equivalent C130 are excellent choices for carpet coverage and medium-density deployments in the enterprise and higher education segments. Their external antenna variants C230E and C130E are well suited for challenging indoor deployments such as warehouses and industrial units. The O235 and O235E are ruggedized industrial grade APs designed to work in harsh environments, both outdoor as well as indoor. Finally, the W118 is the perfect option for dorm rooms in educational institutions and hotel guest rooms. It can also be deployed as a remote AP for employees working from home and in small branch offices. Let's now talk about the most exciting news for the Wi-Fi industry in recent years, that is the availability of spectrum in the 6 GHz band for unlicensed use. This band offers up to 1200 MHz of spectrum, and the entire band has been delicensed in the US and South Korea. The lower 500 MHz part of the band has been made available in the UK, and a similar decision is expected in Europe pretty soon. Wi-Fi Alliance is working on the Wi-Fi 6E certification program for devices capable of operating in this band. So what makes Wi-Fi 6E so exciting? Number one, the availability of contiguous spectrum allows the use of very wide channels up to 320 MHz. Second, there will be less interference in this band because this is a new spectrum and the number of devices is going to be less initially at least. Finally, the spectral efficiency will be higher as there is no baggage of legacy devices in this band, as only 11AX devices will be deployed. In terms of benefits, Wi-Fi 6E brings multi-gigabit link speeds and very low latency. It also provides extremely high throughput and the ability to handle ultra high density scenarios. The advantages of 6 GHz will become even more prominent when the 802.11be standard is available in a few years' time. In summary, the 6 GHz band will help the industry meet the 1000x data challenge and unleash new applications. To conclude this webinar, let me recap what Jatin and I talked about today. The unified cognitive edge is a well-defined pathway for wired wireless integration to create stronger synergy between Arista's Wi-Fi and switching products. For secure access and connectivity, we are introducing the remote AP solution to extend the power of Arista's cognitive Wi-Fi to remote workplaces. In addition, we are enabling seamless integration with industry-leading identity management solutions. To make workplaces safer, we have developed the ptracer application to identify high occupancy zones and track association history of persons of interest. Finally, we are looking forward to Wi-Fi in the 6 GHz band. Thank you for listening. We will now take up questions from the audience.
Let's see. Well, we have an easy one. Will we be able to get a copy of the presentation deck? We are providing this. You'll see it. We're going to send out an email where you can get a recording of this demonstration of this webinar, and you can utilize this at any point, obviously in the future, if you want to send to your colleagues or review it later. Second question. What is the general availability of our ptracer contact tracing application? And Nadeem and Jatin, I'll ask you to provide an answer to that.
Thanks, Ed. So the ptracer is available to all Arista customers right now itself. And as I mentioned, this is a on-prem application. So the ptracer is available as a Docker image, which customers can deploy on a local server in their own network, and there's no additional cost associated with it.
Okay, and I believe one of the things that you brought up with ptracer was that the information is stored locally, and the reason why we're doing this, all this information is held by our customers. There's a lot of concern about HIPAA and other regulatory environments about the privacy of data. This data is held on your internal corporate sites, and so if there are any questions about that, you as a customer have complete control of this information, and you can use this information as you see fit. But it does give you a lot of information about who may have been in a general area of someone who may have maybe of a concern due to the COVID exposure. It is part of CloudVision Wi-Fi, and it does mean that there's no additional licensing or anything like that. It is essentially a service that you get as part of your CloudVision license. As we see another question about, does our Wi-Fi work from home solution not support SSLs? Well, we are supporting IPsec. It really does extend the corporate SSID out to the the work from home environment, and it gives them the same look and feel and security as it would be at a carpeted enterprise perspective. And it works with all the industry leading vendors are out there who provide IPsec termination, including the ones you probably have already installed. We've done a lot of testing with Palo Alto, Fortinet, even our competitors who are out in the marketplace that you may have installed. So it is a solution that does not require, in many cases, any additional investment from your perspective by leveraging the assets you currently have in your environment. Looking at other, one question was, what value does integration with Okta over IDPs like ClearPass or ISE? Jatin, you want to handle that question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure. So we do already have integration with both ClearPass and ICE, or any other IDP from any of the major vendors. What this integration does, the integration with any of these IDPs, is to give you a way to authenticate to the network. You still need to authenticate separately to the applications that you're going to use. So you do get connected to the network, but then after that, if you're going to use, let's say, for example, Gmail, or if you're going to use the company's SAP or Oracle server, etc., you do need to log into these guys separately. And you typically have another SSO, like OneLogin or something like that, to allow you to access the applications that you want to use. One of the key integrations that will, one of the key benefits that we will provide with Okta integration is that once you authenticate to the network using your Okta credentials, and if you have integrated Okta into your corporate applications as well, you will then have seamless access to these applications as well. You don't have to authenticate to the applications themselves. So it's a true single sign-on where you sign on to the network using Okta, and then you also get seamless authentication to all the other applications that you continue to use.
So I think, Jatin, the primary benefit of this is that you can use a single application, Okta, for both network access as well as the application access. And I know when I've seen customers, this is a great benefit just because of the reason you say they authenticate once and they get access to the network and the applications that the company is set up for them to have access to. So it really simplifies the network administration and the application administration in a single management plane, in this case provided by Okta. And one of the things is we're doing this with an Okta initially. Looking forward, we'll be doing this with other similar types of companies that provide solutions like this as well. The other question: does remote workspace work with any Arista AP? You want to answer that, Jatin?
Sure. Yeah. So the remote workspaces or work from home solution will actually work with any of the wave 2, the 802.11 AC wave 2, or the Wi-Fi 6 APs that we have, which means that any AP starting with, let's say, the C130 onwards, this will work. So if I list all the access points, we've got the C130, we've got the W118, we've got the C260, the C230, the O235. It'll work with any of these APs.
Yeah, so basically, we've got a wide band of APs, both in Wi-Fi 6 and Wave 2, that work with our remote access solution. And the other thing is,
some of our newer APs also have hardware acceleration. So if you're using it through, let's say, the C260 or the C230 or the C130 for that matter, you also get IPsec hardware acceleration for better throughput.
Outstanding. One of the other considerations is it's very simple to deploy. When you get the AP, you basically send it to your remote user, and essentially they plug it into their, we do provide power supplies, external power supplies. Certainly, if they have a PoE switch, they can plug it in directly into the PoE switch in their environment. And that's all they really need to do. It automatically gets configured. There's no additional there's no additional configuration they have to do as the remote worker. It basically gets configured without them having to touch anything at the remote side. It automatically gets provisioned within the system, and any of the attributes you have set up for remote workers automatically gets deployed without any intervention by the remote user. So it's very plug and play. Let's see. There was another question about antenna options for external antenna models, the C230E and O235E. Jatin, you want to handle that, or?
Yeah. So both C230E is a indoor model with external antennas, and O235 is the outdoor variant. And we have a list of suitable antennas for both these models, which is available on the Arista website as well, which identifies different types of antennas, directional, omnidirectional, with different beam widths. So a bunch of antennas are available for both these APs. And we are sourcing these antennas from Ventive.
Okay. So they basically have the option of getting whatever antenna they think will work best in their environment, and certainly they can work directly with Arista Wi-Fi SEs to identify what may work best in their environment. Okay. Let's see. I think we already answered the question about extending the company's SSID to the user's home. Do we have any other questions that we would need to answer? I'm looking through the questions. Jatin or Nadeem, do you have anything else you may want to add that you think may be of interest to the attendees on the webinar?
Yeah, so one point I wanted to add about ptracer is that so the way we develop ptracer is that it reuses existing telemetry that is available from Arista Wi-Fi access points, and that same telemetry data is analyzed, and then we generate the information about which person visited what locations at what points of time and who else was there around that time. So in that sense, the ptracer is compatible with all the access point models that are currently uh, deployed as part of Arista Wi-Fi. So it doesn't have any additional requirements on new APIs or new features. It simply works with existing data that is available on CloudVision Wi-Fi.
Fantastic. And there was a question about whether a controller or controllerless solution. Well, we are a controllerless solution. We do have the ability to run either on-prem or in the cloud. And so it really, it depends upon what the user would like to do. If they want an on-prem solution, we basically run an instance of our CloudVision Wi-Fi on a server within their data centers, and that allows them to manage their entire Wi-Fi deployment from their data center, but does not need you to have any controller instantiated at an office location or anything within their environment. Obviously, if you run it from our CloudVision as within the cloud, that is something that you can manage, and obviously don't have to have anything on-prem as well. So really is a controllerless solution. Jatin or Nadeem, I don't know if you want to answer or provide any additional information to what I just said.
No, I think that was
okay. All right. I think that is about it. I don't see any additional questions. Let me look through here. I think we did all the questions that were there.
Yeah.
So we'll move on. Jatin or Nadeem, anything to add?
No, I think we're good. There was one question from Shubham Pandey asking if, that while majority of the campus networking solutions focus on wireless bit, how is Arista cognitive edge different? I think we could probably have Shubham invited to some of our campus Wi-Fi, the wired campus switching webinars as well.
Yep, I agree. Wait for that. We'll probably have some webinars in the near future that go through some of that, more explanations about what we're doing from a Wi-Fi switching, Wi-Fi, from a PoE switching perspective as well. Well, I think in regards to this particular webinar, we seem to have completed all the questions. I do appreciate your time and look forward to engaging with you in answering and providing solutions for your Wi-Fi requirements at your enterprises. Thank you very much for your time.